All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are back with two men in black and white, an honest conversation. Lots going on a dreary Monday. We got lots of rain down here in the dirty, dirty. We needed it though because things have been really, really hot and sticky down here. So we welcome the cool off. But are things cooling off for MAGA? Is MAGA not as hot as the Trumpster makes it seem? It appears that it's a party in disarray. And one of the fellows from the Breakfast Club had an interesting take on how traditional Republicans, if that's even such a thing anymore, can re-hijack the party that was hijacked initially from them by the MAGA crowd, right? So if you're not MAGA, but you're a Republican, maybe you're that guy in the middle, which is really weird to me because they seem to vote the same way. But hey, what do I know, right? I'm just a guy on a podcast show, right? Calling it an honest conversation. Anyway, Brock Ganeles joins us from high atop the Hudson Valley. And Brock, it's interesting. The Breakfast Club syndicated radio show does really big interviews, gets really big numbers. Charlamagne the God, a really fiery personality, can be very controversial in the eyes of black folks.
Yeah.
And there's some black folks that want to give him a two-piece when they see him. So, give him the old one too, because he doesn't always stick to the script as we feel like he should. He's had some controversial things out there. For instance, going back to Kamala's campaign, he had some things that struck a sour note in the black and brown community. But nevertheless, he went on the Laura Loud Talk show, Laura Trump, who makes a lot of noise, doesn't really say anything of value. I didn't even know she had a show, but he had an interesting perspective. Did you get to check out what he said about re-hijacking the party?
I did. I thought it was kind of amazing that Laura Trump had him on as a guest.
It was weird, right?
Yeah, kind of weird and risky. It's like, okay. Like, did she think that he was going to go on the show and sort of roll along with MAGA speak? Like,
Right.
I'm not sure. She's not, first of all, she's not the brightest bulb out there, right? So she's likely not going to really, can't handle like an intelligent conversation. So I just feel like that conversation went way off base relative to where Laura Trump wanted it to go. And I
Sure.
love that Charlamagne just shot that from the hip and was giving the MAGA world his view of what's going on, in essence, in their living room, right?
Right.
He's
Right.
basically out telling them that they appear from where he sits to be breaking apart, and MAGA is losing its grip on the GOP because of the Epstein fiasco.
Yes,
And
indeed.
it's an interesting take. Maybe it's something that we've been kind of rooting for. We weren't, we never know who's QAnon and who's MAGA and who thinks that they're
Right.
just a Republican. Like you said, they all vote the same at this point. But
Exactly.
but I do have to believe that there's a certain amount of Republicans, we call them all MAGA, who are voting that way but don't want to be, right? Like
Yeah.
they're just soft and wimps and not tough enough to actually vote be who they want to be. So they've been bullied into MAGA and don't really want to be there. And I've always felt with Trump, as soon as there's blood in the water, that people are going to turn on him because he's such an asshole. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody hates him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I feel like Charlemagne did us all a favor and poked the bear and Odie to get under Trump's skin.
Oh yeah, he wrecked his last good nerve, and Trump went on a diatribe on his Truthing social platform. Not a lot of truth in there, but talked about what a sleaze bag he was. Because he immediately resorts to name calling.
Low IQ. Low
Yeah,
IQ is like
low
his.
IQ, low IQ.
It's his N word, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's code.
Low
That's code
IQ.
for
Only
black guys.
black people are low IQ.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But it was interesting because Charlemagne is in a Fox News studio, like you said, telling them what's wrong with them and reminding them that they're not letting it go. 16% of America approves with this handling of the Epstein debacle, the Trumpstein files. I mean, there is no way anyone's letting this go. Um, And then every day, it's drips and drabs with Trump, right? And so everything seems to come, and everything he's doing around the Trumpstein files, fires up the base and fires up Democrats, right? No sex offender has ever been put in one of these club fed prisons like Ghislaine Maxwell was transferred to. Right, where she can just walk around, go to the store, and have all the kind of luxuries of almost like being at home. Just a lot more sanitary and kind of, blah, drab, not nice draperies like she's accustomed to, that kind of thing. But no one's ever gotten that kind of treatment before. Now all of a sudden she's getting it. They had to waive different kinds of procedures and rules and things to make this happen. And it was done, in a weekend. Right? It took less than a week to get her, to some safer confines. And when people say they're not letting this thing go, they're not letting it go because this happened to children, right? And again, people are tired of this class of folks, these 83 billionaires and their friends getting away with everything. We're sick of it. We're sick of it. And MAGA and QAnon are just on the pedophile aspect of it. They like to be able to take advantage of getting away with stuff because they've gotten away with stuff too, i.e. January 6th. But, people are tired of watching, the rich get away with shit that everybody else has to suffer dearly for.
And it just seems like the victims are getting a voice for the first time.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
You're kind of seeing a lot of interviews, quotes, commentary from the different victims who are going hard after Maxwell about
Yeah.
they hate her, right? It's almost like
Yes.
they might expect it from the man, right? But from the
Right.
woman, right? The woman who really, kind of buried all of that, ruined their lives. Interesting story, supposedly that the new jailmates of Ghislaine Maxwell aren't happy that she's there because they don't want a sexual predator in their confines, right? So there's just a lot of stories and there's so many angles to it, right? And every day there seems to be a new photo of Trump with a 12-year-old girl too, with his hand on her leg, right?
Yeah.
So there's no shortage of, kind of ammunition on this one. So I don't know how the story goes away.
Yeah. It's not going away until somebody leaks the files like you predicted. I mean, I think that's the only way we're going to see them at this point. Anybody who lets that out, can you imagine being a fly on the wall when that thing gets leaked, right? Imagine how many FBI agents and Homeland Security folks are going to be on that detail trying to figure out
Wait,
where that thing came from.
is it possibly true that there's 100,000 redactions of Trump's name in the files? Is 100,000 even like that? I've seen that number floated out there.
Yeah,
Could his name
it's
be in there that much? It could be
it
with
could
all
be.
the depositions they took and all. And it could. I mean, I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility, but that's. I mean,
Think about it though. Over years and years, right? The recruiting was happening at Mar-Lago, right? Epstein and Trump were best buds back then. They hadn't had this real estate deal falling out.
mhm.
I mean, it could easily add up to hundreds of thousands of mentions, 100,000 mentions. I mean, think of all the people that were involved. Think of all the people that were talked to, all the motions that were
Yeah,
followed.
yeah,
The sweetheart deal Alex Acosta gave Epstein.
yeah, yeah. There's so
You
much.
know, I mean, it doesn't take a lot. And think about the number. Remember, Trump is John Doe 174, right? So there's 173 folks in front of him. Who knows how many times they dropped his name? And then who knows how many John Does are after from 174 and beyond, right? So, I mean, look, if they put that many agents on it to find it and try to scrub his name and any mentions of him, it's not hard to do the math at this point, right? Like, we're not going to get those documents and start reading them and say, oh, this might be Trump. We'll know exactly who it is.
So we've given Trump the power of America, right? Which is a lot of fucking power, right? Like economic power, military power. So he has a lot of levers to pull. But doesn't it feel like his personal insults and his attacks, like the one he just done Charlamagne the God, have just lost their sting? Like
Yes.
nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like is Charlamagne the guy that need, running out to get personal security because Trump mentioned him negatively? Like, no, it's like it's just been so many people and it's so random and it almost like it's like I'm not sure anyone even reacts to it anymore. Like his rant against Charlemagne was like, I don't even know who had to put in the effort to read the whole tweet, right? I got like two sentences through it. It's like, okay, I know
Right.
what the rest says, right? It's all the same bullshit. Like it's a cut and paste. Might as well have been a cut and paste of like
Yeah.
Rosie O'Donnell or something, right? It's like it's the same shit.
Yeah, and it's the same script. I mean, it's old. He doesn't have any new nicknames for anybody. It's the guy's old and tired. He looks like hell, by the way. I don't know if we've talked about his personal, but between the bruises on his hands and his face and his hair falling all over the place. And I mean, the guy does not look well. He's not even shaped like a good bowling pin anymore. He's just like, just it's a
Yeah, he looks
mess.
bad. And MAGA is coming apart. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's out saying the party is like lost its way per her, and the party doesn't treat women properly. MTG woke up to that this
Yeah.
morning. Like this morning that hit her, right? I mean, you got, Nancy Mace.
Years.
Yeah, Nancy Mace is trying to get out of Congress, so she's going to try to run for governor of South Carolina, like a lot of them are doing, is running for governorships because they don't want to be in Congress anymore.
Right.
Because whatever, they don't want to like be forced to do whatever Trump wants,
Wants them to
basically.
do. Right. Right. And be complicit to crimes.
Yeah, I
You
mean
know?
they could actually stand up for themselves and say something, but like I guess that's not that's not what we get from today's quote leadership.
Right.
So they're scurrying out to try to find the next best job.
Right. Right. And you see so many people doing that. But, should it surprise us at this point? I mean, I don't think so.
It's a little early, right? 7 months
Right.
in, right? Supposedly Pete Hegseth wants out and he might run for governor of Tennessee, right? I mean,
Really?
he's only been Secretary of Defense 7 months. Now, granted, these are elections probably next year, but they kind of are thinking about, getting a team together and starting the fundraising and doing the announcement. Everyone likes to announce early now, right? And
Right.
try to clear the field. Like that's kind of
Right.
the new game, right? Is become viewed as the likely winner. And
Likely
so
win.
others
Right.
won't come in. So that's why we're seeing these early, right? Tuberville's already announced to run for governor in Alabama. I mean, there's just been a lot on the right, particularly, not so much on the left, but
Right.
they're starting to do it. But on the
Right.
right, they're kind of
Tuberville.
scurrying out of Congress.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe Charlemagne's on, maybe Charlemagne MAGA.
yeah.
But I thought it was QAnon and MAGA that maybe would split. And he's pointing out to maybe traditional Republicans, I guess like
Right.
Liz Cheney types
Right.
or Mitch
Right.
McConnell types, probably, right? Like,
Right. Because his,
Mitch hates Trump, but he just rolls
right.
along with him, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Because he was in the
Mitch
Clinton.
is stepping aside, but he would be that standard bearer, or even Lindsey Graham would be traditional Republicans who
Exactly.
just fell in line.
So what happens though with these traditional Republicans when the Texas Governor Hot Wheels out there, decides that he's going to take away all these election results in these Democratic districts and these Democratic representatives who fled Texas because of the redistricting map? And Governor Hot Wheels trying to redraw the districts to stack the deck in the Republicans' favor. I mean, this could be the spark, that gets things really heated up.
I think they all fall in line. Like I'm waiting to see someone actually, because Trump supports this, right? Trump wants those extra congressmen. He wants to, if there's going to be elections, he wants to win them, right? And for now, he's still thinking about potentially like winning them, not yet canceling them. I'm sure in the back of his head, he'll start floating I can cancel them if it's a national security issue, right? We'll start hearing that shit, right? When he starts telling us what he's allowed to do, we know that
Right,
he's
right.
going to do it soon, right?
I'm proud to do it.
He's prepping us like the Jillian pardon that's inevitably coming.
Right.
But I think at this point, I still am going to be surprised to see any of those quote traditional Republicans go against Abbott and against what's his name Paxton down there,
Right.
and again and at this point against Trump. I don't think they think he's weak enough yet. I'm waiting to see who stands up to Trump first and
First.
where
Right.
it happens.
Right. Right. It could happen, look, if Governor Newsom sticks to his guns, right, and just creates another 15 Democratic seats, I mean, that would
Hochul, Well, New York says she's going to do the same thing.
Same thing. Yep. And so, they get an extra 10, 20 seats, that would really piss Republicans off, piss Trump off. And I feel like if we have 26 elections, I feel like he's a lame duck anyway and does nothing but try to enrich himself for the next 2 years. He won't get anything done for the good of Americans or America.
No, good. But if we can just block Project 2025 from rolling along, but that gets down to if there's elections. Like I think in Trump's mind, he's always thinking about how he stays in that seat. So
Right.
he'll engineer martial law. He will engineer national emergencies
Right.
so that he can not allow elections to happen.
Yeah.
For now, we'll still jockey around with seats and gerrymanders and pretend like there's legality and that normalcy. But I still wouldn't bet on Trump allowing there to be any process that could unseat him. I think
Right.
he's in there till he dies in his mind.
Right.
Because if he loses, I mean, he would be prosecuted left and right. Like he knows there's no safe space for him if he's not
Right.
the president.
Right, right. And it's interesting too because I'm expecting Trump to weigh in on this Texas deal. And you got the governor of Illinois providing shelter. His family owns the Hyatt hotels.
Yeah,
So there's, no
that
shortage of
helps.
suites available.
Yeah.
Right. So just get here and we got a place for you to stay. But I wouldn't be surprised if Trump calls out the US Marshals. I'll go get these
To go
fugitives.
get him. That would be, you know what?
How
That.
about
I
that
mean,
for a scenario?
that's the tinderbox. Those are the types of things that maybe trigger mass protests and some
Right,
violence out there in the streets.
right.
Would everyone just stand by and watch that? My bet is still yes. I don't see I don't see us that close to the boiling point, but it could be wrong. It's like the show that you told me to watch with Jon Stewart and that historian on revolutions.
The
I mean, his
revolutions, yeah.
message definitely the historian who's looked at revolutions from like basically Roman Empire on, the
Yes.
successful ones and the failed ones, definitely said that you can almost never predict. Like it's a random event. It's generally something you don't see coming and something that is not organized at
Right.
certainly at the beginning. So, I guess we could be wrong on any front.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about that conversation that I found was so interesting. You have three white guys sitting there talking about a revolution to make over America. And if three white guys are talking about it, that means you've got three white guys talking about making America a more fair America, right? Not necessarily stacking the deck to the traditional white man's advantage. And all the superlatives that coming along with being a well-groomed white man in America. And so, it's very interesting. I appreciate it. I applaud it. But, how many of those conversations are taking place around America right now? Is it just these three guys, right? Because Jon Stewart's pissed off about Colbert and these guys study, revolutions, for a day job? Or is it something that's actually being talked about? Now, you have disappointed me on several occasions over the last few days where I've had to go and curl up in a corner because you told me that white America was not invested in a successful.
Okay. All right.
So I
I'm
feel
still
myself
there.
out in the
Okay.
corner today, and I'm asking, a guy who's been white for a long time, are these kinds of conversations happen? Because you know what, in my ecosystem, when I have kinds of conversations about, upward mobility for Black America, we don't talk about re-enslaving white people. We don't talk about taking companies from white people. All we want is the opportunity to either start our own or build on our own idea or to get a loan. Maybe so I can open a bakery or so I can open my own meat processing plant or so that I can open my own, chicken wing Tyson Farms. What if we had Hayes Farms chicken? We're not talking about taking anything from white America. And when you look at how much money, right? You look at the GDP of this nation. There's enough out there for all of us, bro. There really is. Come on, I mean, come on. We just gonna have to admit it.
To start off the top, I don't think there's a lot of conversations going on like the one Jon Stewart had. I was surprised. That was kind of the first one I saw in the public forum. So I don't
Okay.
think there's a lot of that going on yet. But I will say to Black America, now that I'm the preacher to Black America, that one of the interesting things out that I learned from the historian was like, he's like, there's multiple parts to these revolutions, right? There's
Sure.
the first part where you kind of topple the current government. And then there's the immediate second fight over what's going to come next. And there's usually not a lot of discussion about what's going to come next in the first stage. It's all just about toppling. And if you think of the American Revolution, right? They didn't have it planned out what it was going to be, right? It was like Tea Party to Paul Revere to all of a sudden it's a fucking revolution going on, right?
Right. Right.
So black people got to get in the mix because if there's a revolution and white people like lead it and this and that, then they're going to start talking about what happens after. And you want to have a
Mm.
seat at the table. So I'm going to encourage Latino America, Black America that if and when Trump we topple Trump because we get out there on the streets. Don't be absent and think someone's going to come to you to ask, hey, hey, Black America, how do you guys feel about what the next stage should be? Or, how far we should go with policy now that we've kind of won this fight? Because they argued that, then there's this second street fight, which is amongst the winners. And then they determine who the leaders are going to be and what it looks like next. So
Right.
make sure you're hang around the hoop, as we would say. Hang around the hoop.
You pick up the trash. Pick up the trash around the rim. But you know what? I get it, and that's a difficult concept for many people who look like me to grasp because we have been left out for so long. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been passed over. We've missed out on opportunities. If you ever watch Roland Martin on a regular basis, you talk about media spending and how much advertising dollars are spent with white media companies versus black or brown media companies. And, the difference is astronomical. It's not even close. Oh, it's astronomical. It's like, you've literally, Spike Lee filmed his first, major motion picture with his credit cards. So it sounds great in theory, let us pull up to the table. But, oftentimes when we pull up to the table, all the chairs are gone. And so, we're looking around trying to figure, well, we've got some ideas back here in the corner. Oftentimes the voice is not heard. Look, if we get into a reshaping of America, you better believe Black America wants to be a part of it. You
Yeah,
better believe.
Black America should look at New York and go, this Mondani. I'm just shocked at how often I hear his name whenever I watch just various podcasts of all different sorts of how much he has stirred the pot. He hasn't even won yet, but
Right,
how much disruption he has caused just
right,
because he created such an odd coalition. Like he got so many Jewish votes for a Muslim American, right? So some Jews are mad at other Jews, but why?
right.
Because his in essence anti-Israel, pro-Gaza stance, he would argue it's a pro-humanity stance, resonated. But even before that, just the affordability conversation that he brought to the forefront, right? It made Andrew Cuomo look asleep, right? Cuomo had
Right.
nothing to fucking say in that entire. I mean, he was like a mannequin in that entire race, right? He said nothing the whole time, and Mandami just came with ideas and hit where young people are thinking, and just like the simple shit. There was a poll out today that 90% of Americans are concerned / stressed about the cost of groceries. 90%. 90%. So
Yeah.
that's the 1% doesn't worry about it. And then the next 9 doesn't worry about it. And then everybody else, it actually has a meaningful impact on their income. I actually just got groceries this morning. And of course, the prices were through the fucking roof.
Right, right. And that 10%, Brock, they're swiping. They don't even realize, what's gone up. What they can't tell you what prices are higher, what prices are not.
Yeah,
But
my
it
friend,
doesn't matter.
remember my friend when I told her we talked when she was shopping, he's like, I asked her what the price of eggs were and she had to admit, like, she hadn't even looked. But yes, she's in
I
that
know.
next 9% from the top 1%. But that's where people's heads are at, right?
Right, right.
So like there's just a huge lane open. But I guess I'm saying like if 90% of Americans are worried about a day-to-day affordability, that's a lot of white people. So
Yes.
that actually is
Yes.
putting a lot of white people on an even playing field with the concerns that black people and Latinos have had because white people have been more wealthy, but now they're feeling the pain and the
Yes.
stress of making it and getting by and the cost of drugs and the cost of food and the cost of everyday living. It may bring people a little bit closer together because their problems may feel the same. It just may be an opportunity for us to talk to each other a little bit with a little bit more camaraderie, so to speak.
And
Am I being too
understand.
optimistic today? I don't know what happened.
No, I don't know what happened, but I like it. But but now that we have issues that we can relate to. Before, a lot of white America could not relate to what it's like to trying to make a meal out of something. Not having, Brock, I worked in Ossining and I took some kids home from school who, didn't have anything but a light in the refrigerator, right? I mean, that's frightening. I took a kid to get dinner one day and he hadn't eaten in a couple days. And I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with him at football practice. I was like, what's going on with you? Let's go get some pizza and let's talk. And finally, he admitted to me he hadn't eaten in a couple days. That's in Ossining. Now, remember, you go down Main Street in Ossining, you got Sing Sing prison on one side, multi-million-dollar homes on the other side, right? And then those kids go to school together, right? So think about how many people, right, can't relate to what's going on just on the other side of the street, not even a mile away, right? I'm talking about a quarter mile away. And so, we have to be able to establish a level of understanding about each other's culture that allow, because, black people have misconceptions about white people too. We think life is very easy for white America. Right? We think, life is just a bowl of cherries, man. And if you're not doing well as a white person, it's because you didn't want to. Those are some of the, misperceptions, misconceptions that black people have. I know that I had, about, white America because all these opportunities just seem to fall in your
Mhm.
lap. But you have to be talented in order to get, some of the
Yeah,
benefits.
like I mean, I don't think life's easy for anyone, but
Right,
for Donald Trump, life was pretty easy. But life's easier, right? It's
right,
relative, it's easier. But things get to everyone, right? Everyone ages, everyone has health issues, everyone has their struggles, right? Everyone
right,
has. It's just easier, and you get away with more mistakes as a white person, as we've talked about a lot of time.
right,
But I
right,
think right now the playing field, because Donald Trump treats white people like white people treat black people, he's evening the playing field for all of us
yeah,
by just making everyone's life that much more miserable. Because now everyone's worried about groceries and drug prices, and schools appear to be getting defunded and getting worse. And
right,
just the general tone of America is, less pleasant, right? It's just where it's a meaner, shittier country, and it just seems to be a fight every day on every topic everywhere. So
right.
yeah, we got a miserable country, but more people are hurting.
Right. And it's all thanks to a miserable, shittier president.
Yeah,
Right.
human
That's
being,
where it
like a
all started.
miserable human being who's like just inflicting it on the rest of us. But I like where you started. I like where Charlamagne, maybe he also may have given more other people license to speak up,
Yeah.
because he kind of created a controversy that then gets the question asked, and then maybe it gets more people talking about it or even thinking
Sure.
about it. Like, hey, can I fuck Trump? He's going to primary me. He might not
Right.
have maybe he doesn't have the horses for that, right?
Exactly.
Maybe he doesn't have that clout that he used to have or thinks he has. Like, I'm going to speak out against him. I'll go head to head with him. He's in decline. Like when is the other side of the ledger going to view as Donald Trump as being in decline? Are
Right.
we there? Is he toppling? Has it already started with the Epstein thing that like has the decline already begun? I kind of feel like it has. Maybe it's wishful thinking.
I feel like it has too, bro. But before we go, a couple of quick hits. America has great genes. This, blue jean commercial stirring up all the Sydney Sweeney stuff. Wow. Did they get hit in the face with a counter ad? Did you hear about the counter ad that came out? It was pretty interesting. I'll let you check that out because I want to get your opinion on that.
I thought the Sydney Sweeney thing it was like is kind of a much ado about nothing. Like
Yeah,
I felt like it was an overblown scenario.
no doubt.
I didn't think it was some sort of play on master race shit, this and that. I mean,
Right.
Could have been. I didn't think so. And the fact that, like, supposedly she's a registered Republican, so now Trump loves her, and he's
Oh,
bragging about how he destroyed Taylor Swift's career, but how great it's going to be for. I mean, I think it's the worst thing that it could have ever happened to Sydney Sweeney is
right.
to be endorsed by Donald Trump, because,
Exactly.
as Rick Wilson says, everything Trump touches dies. So, like, she does not want
No,
that.
not at all. The
But
Scarlet Letter.
I'll look for the counter ad.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, bro. What do you got for me
What was
real
the
quick?
second one? You said you had two for me. That was one.
That was one. Then Tesla gives Elon 29 billion. What's that all about?
What a fucking joke. He
What?
destroyed the brand. I mean, that is corporate shenanigans to the hilt. Oh, they're worried about him leaving. Yeah,
Right.
fucking sure. 2 days after the company literally got convicted and has to pay 350 million because their self-driving cars don't work and it killed somebody. The guy's got
Unbelievable.
there's no way I'd get into one. And, he brags that the cars can go on autopilot, which they can't. So, like, to me, there's so many more lawsuits looming out there for Tesla. Yeah, to me, that is absolute, right? Corporate greed, corporate shenanigans,
Yeah.
one white guy hand shaking the other, and just lining each other's pockets at the expense of, in that case, your regular shareholder who gets diluted
Exactly.
out. But,
Well,
the little guy gets just fucked again.
screwed. Oh, well. All right, bro. Good stuff on a Monday.
All right. Always a pleasure, Mark. I'll talk to you
Yes, sir.
tomorrow. Okay.
Sounds good, bro.
Bye bye.
Peace.